Welcome back to the stream, everyone. Just getting all the platforms set up. The YouTube had been bugging me to switch to their new streaming system, so it looks like that's working, maybe. So we're live on YouTube on the Scanlime-in-progress channel at twitch.tv/scanlime and live.diode.zone/scanlime. Welcome back. Mostly just gonna continue with the soldering kit stuff we were working on Monday. Hi. Gonna hang out and chat, and record some soldering video, and try to figure out where else this is going. So we were working on these kits from Boldport, boldport.com. It's this subscription service that was sending out kits once a month, and now it's more like a library of kits that you can buy individually when they're in stock, and kind of an online community for folks who have the kits or like them. And the one I randomly grabbed on Monday was, oh, hello. We also have video chat, which if you want to join, we can hang out in a sort of online co-working space here. Make that slightly smaller. Did I turn off the audio? Sorry. I think we have audio from the chat again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, cool. Hey.
Hello. Welcome back.
Thank you. How's your Tuesday going so far?
Oh, Tuesday. It's all right. Feeling okay in the body. The mind is a work in progress.
Wow, that's a big mood. Yikes. Wow.
Only the biggest moods here.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, I think I was overly fussing over the order of operations last time, when mostly this kit is just put all the pieces on the board. I should look up which resistors go where, though.
Which kit is it?
This one's called Juice.
I think I might have that one on hand myself. Can work along.
Cool. Yeah, so this one's sort of like a breakout board for a voltage regulator, but it's in the form of this sort of battery replacement kit. So you can stick these like fake batteries in a device that you would normally battery power, and then use this to kind of bench test it or run it off a USB power. Oh, and so it looks like these pins are wiggly like this, so that the headers on this chooser board will just kind of stick in with spring pressure, which is cute. That explains why they all have 3 pins. So I'm just going to keep this handy and go back to the microscope. The microscope is kind of overkill for this, but it looks so much nicer. this chooser is a surface mount header. Sorry. Yeah, I feel like I still kind of don't entirely know what to do with this like streaming and video platform that I'm trying to have, but having, getting an idea of how to make it more bidirectional seems useful. So if anybody else wants to call in, if you just go to that video chat link on the screen, it'll just drop you right in here. It's a little disorienting, but it happens.
Could be a cool way to work on some sort of like collaborative project where we could build something big together as a community.
Yeah, I mean, what is it that's worth building?
Ooh, that's the tough one. I feel like all the hacker spaces I'm part of are working on respirator designs and 3D print farms and stuff right now to some success, but I'm not totally sure how that's going to pan out.
Yeah, it's like on one hand, I want to be useful, but on the other hand, the sheer amount of energy that engineers put into just trying to be useful in situations where they have really none of the, like, no reason to believe that they can help. Like, I don't know how to really stay out of that. And like,
Definitely.
I don't have any personal connections to like ER staff. I can't just like ask them what they need. And I've been trying to just like surf around on the internet and try to find like, well, what are people actually looking for? What's actually helping? And like a lot of the stuff I'm finding is very hackish and very like specific to the situation. So it's like, it's kind of like, well, I think maybe what people need isn't so much, a person to step in and like design a thing that'll save it, but just like resources to figure out how to make whatever parts are available actually fit the needs of the people who need them. Like I was seeing somebody say that, okay, we do intubations. We need some of these like plastic shields made so that we can put them around patients and reduce the amount of protective equipment that we need for our ER staff. But then like those designs themselves are not like super easy to build. Like they require sourcing equipment from shops that are probably closed right now. And then even when they do work, they're still like not great. Like they are not quite the right shape and they don't really fit on the patient the way they need to. And so it's like, I feel like a lot of what we're dealing with is that kind of thing where like a lot of what like hobby engineering on the internet revolves around is like making a procedure that if everything else falls into place, like that procedure is just like everything you need. Like it's, I feel like a lot of open source software projects are like that. Like, oh, Linux is really popular because it manages to just cordon off one part of the bigger problem and solve that fairly well, and then just make everything else external. And like when you can't do that, when you have to just like integrate everything with the customer and the supply chain and the actual resources that are available, like that's like when it gets hard in ways that folks don't usually appreciate unless they've been there.
Absolutely. I was kind of lucky that my family has a medical practice, so I've just been printing PPE for them.
Oh, that's
But
cool. What do they
yeah,
want?
they've been wanting just like face shields and stuff like that. And then I was also able to, like, a lot of, even hobbyist engineers have a lot of understanding of industrial supply chain that people in the medical field might not because they just order from their catalogs. So, like, being
Mm.
able to direct them to McMaster, I was able to get them respirators and stuff that were totally out of stock in the, in the other supply chain. So I think that even just like maintaining lists of, okay, where can you get stuff that you might not normally think of as a doctor can be helpful.
That's cool. C4. Oh, that's C3. C4 and C3 are really the same. I should be turning on the microscope recorder. And stepping on my laptop. Be cool if I could easily tell Jitsi, the video chat software here, to put everything in a grid except for my screen, because my screen is kind of redundant. Oh, I also forgot to actually route the right video there, so you're not even seeing the right screen.
It's a very nice little mossy thing.
Sorry, that's the right video. I was curious about the 3D printed PPE, actually, because, I mean, I saw some designs for, like, a 3D printed visor piece that you could add a plastic sheet to, but then I also saw...
That's it.
Oh, that's the one? So I was
Yeah.
curious how that compares to just, like, gluing some foam onto the plastic sheet, because it seemed like that would be a lot faster and work about the same.
Definitely. Yeah. The one difference I think is that it's more difficult. Like you can, you know, air quotes, sanitize the part using, like like some sort of antibacterial solution with the 3D printed part, which is more difficult with foam,
Oh,
or
I
you can
see.
put it in like a gas sterilization chamber.
Like
But
they're...
like they can be single use too, so foam would work.
Yeah, I heard of folks wiping down the front and just, like, assuming that the back wasn't going to get cleaned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the foam might be a little bit more pragmatic, I think. Certainly a little more comfortable. But I think the other part of it is, making sure that whatever PPE you have, especially earlier on, doesn't scare patients. Because, like a big respirator and stuff like that can keep people from getting care if they walk into the doctor's office and see, oh my God, these guys look like they're from some hazmat team. So I think there's a
Yeah.
balance of aesthetics.
Gosh, that's... I was hearing some folks on the radio offer that concern too, just like listening to local news around here and talking about how, um, yeah, just like kind of over protecting will kind of scare people away. But then, like, I think also the amount of protection that we would consider to be like scary is actually pretty appropriate and is pretty normal in a lot of other places.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
So it's just frustrating that, we can't change the social aspect of that fast enough to keep up with what the disease is actually doing.
Yeah, because ideally, like a lot of protective equipment would telegraph, like, hey, we really care about you and care about your safety and our own safety.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think this one's on a ground plane. That right one is really sucking all the heat out. I might actually switch soldering tips. Oh, I need to get my Tuco cam set back up. I don't have a dedicated cat camera, but I do have, a DSLR I could point at Tuco.
Do you think the flyer is going to be a thing in the new space, or is it just not really suited to it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's really suited to the project the way it was, but maybe there's something I can do to repurpose it. Like, part of what's nice about this space now is that I don't have just a single giant room that Tuco and I and all the equipment share, but that's also kind of what the flyer needed to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't personally been to any of the like PPE drop-offs around here. There's one that I got some email about, and they said that they only wanted unopened equipment. So like I have a couple of opened boxes of gloves and a couple of just loose N95s around here that it doesn't like I can't tell if they want. And I would just like ask them. I don't know. I mean, I I have a hard time making phone calls in the best of days, and so part of me is like, oh, I don't want to bother them, but I should email them. And then if I wanted to meet them in person, it's like kind of far away, so I probably need to fix my bike because I don't really want to take public transit there.
Is Sacramento relatively bikeable?
Yeah, it's really flat,
Oh, cool.
and there's some pretty good trails. Oh yeah, I haven't heard of anybody doing like 3D printed N95s. That doesn't sound like it would work at all. I think the 3D printing I've seen has been like clips for attaching sheets of plastic to your head. But I mean, it's also just one of these things where like the problem is not that we don't have a design for these things. The problem is that we don't have just quantities. So like it's really not a design problem, it's a manufacturing problem that has a design problem inside it. And then it isn't even about like just the raw manufacturing even, because like we have plenty of factories, we have plenty of tooling for this kind of stuff, but it's all logistics. It's just logistics all the way down. And then people not communicating and not having the right communication structures in place. And then there's seems like we're in this feedback loop where if anybody publicly acknowledged the full breadth of the problem, it would just kind of scare people into panicking and then making the problem even worse. So people are kind of like tiptoeing around the actual extent of the need that we have, and that's just making things worse, it seems.
Gavin Newsom said earlier today that schools would likely be closed through the calendar year, which I was
Wow.
kind of amazed by.
Yeah. It's just such a weird time. Okay. Resistors. I mean, there's a bunch of resistors, there's some headers, there's an LED. Kind of want to do the LED next. Let's test this LED. Oh, that's pretty. It's a nice orange light. They only give you the barest hint about the orientation here, huh? Just a tiny LED symbol. Looks right. Negative lead to the LED is going right to the USB shield. Part of the reason I have such a big backlog of these bold port kits is I wanted to do something interesting with the video footage, and I'm still not really sure what that is. Do LEDs care which way they're plugged in? Yeah, usually. Can't tell if you're serious or not. That's the D part is the diode. They only conduct in one direction for the most part. Cat. He likes that window. It's a little, or door, I guess. A little louder in here when that's open, but it's nice to have the fresh air and the cat entertainment. One thing I'm confused about with this is why we have the number of headers we do. So we have a 6-pin long header like this. I'm assuming this gets broken in half into 2 3-pin headers, and then you can use them on the battery objects. But there aren't really enough, and I'm assuming this is just to kind of get you started somehow. Well, these have the wiggly holes so that you can use them. I mean, maybe the intent is that you don't solder in any of these headers and you just use this as a temporary connector. But it does seem like you break this in half. And these are both V out. Yeah. Yeah, I think this gets broken in half. This is kind of cute how it's ground in the center so that everything's reversible. Just stick it on the little battery thing. It's kind of cute. And I guess you could stick another one on the other side. I mean, that doesn't... I don't know why there are 2 outputs. I mean, it seems like a lot of cases you'd have a device that needs 2 batteries, but the device is almost always going to be putting those batteries in series, and so you couldn't just bridge them to the same regulator like that. Not really sure what that's about. But we could try using this one to run the pineapple. It says CR 2032, but this looks a little thinner than a 2032. Might need a shim. Almost half the thickness of a 2032. How did 2 coach take off? Whoa, interesting. Vintage LEDs that worked regardless of polarity. You think they had 2 LED chips inside? That's cool. There's this old electronics shop in Denver that I used to go to very occasionally. I didn't have access to transportation really, but a couple of times I got my folks to drive me there. And they had some cool stuff. Like that's where I got all those interesting buttons that we were playing with a couple days ago. It's also where I got plenty of kits and weird motors and old batteries and stuff like that at the time. But they had some really interesting vintage LEDs. I got these General Electric solid-state lamps, which I think they were from the 60s or something. They were really dim and red, and they didn't quite look like modern red 5mm LEDs. The two pins were different colors, like they were plated with different metals, and they were the same length. And the plastic was a little bit more opaque than usual, and they didn't have flanges on the ends. Okay, so we have R1, 2, 4, and the variable resistor that set the different voltages. R3 and 5. R3 is the enable pull-up. R5 is the other half of the voltage divider for all of the voltage selectors, and then R6 runs the LED. So R5 and 6 are the 1.2K. These resistor colors are so hard to read. The brown and the red are both almost black, but I think these are the 1.2s. Let's check. Yep. R4 is 5.6K. Gosh, yeah, the colors on these resistors are really dim. Let's double check this one. Measuring my anti-static mat. There we go, 5.6. Oh, hey, Tuco. I think he's walking back. Yeah. I mean, I kind of figure any of these kits that I don't turn into standalone videos will just make maybe some interesting couple of seconds of B-roll here and there. But that's about all I got. That comment about the LEDs that work in both orientations reminds me of this more recent product I saw that was, I think this was on Mike's Electric Stuff's YouTube, like probably a couple of years ago. It was this LED tape that was made from crushed up LED dice in random orientations. Kind of wonder if there's some manufacturing process where you end up not really knowing the polarity of the LED and ending up with both in parallel. These parts are huge. I was really looking forward to kind of having a social reset and meeting new people here, but all the meeting new people is kind of on hold. I mean, I don't know if it was going to be progressing much anyway, because I am really bad at that sort of thing, but now it's like very on hold.
Were you able to at least meet your neighbors and stuff?
Not really. Some of my neighbors, so let's see, on the street, there's a couple of people who also just recently moved in, and then there's a couple of apartment buildings. And yeah, I still don't really know any of my neighbors. That was like one of the things I was kind of hoping for on Nextdoor, is like maybe I'd be able to meet some neighbors through that, but it's been kind of bad. I mean, not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting it to just be like nothing but racism, and there's been a couple of bad posts, but like for the most part, it's been just not terrible, just like really not my thing.
Yeah. A lot of boomer posting.
Oh yeah. Okay, R1 and 3 are 1K. That's at least pretty easily 1K. Tuco is sitting right outside a frame now. 3.3K resistor is so cute.
Aw. Touching on the stream title a little bit, I was a little concerned today about how this whole COVID situation is going to affect trans healthcare, especially as states are already starting to clamp down on abortion access, using it as an excuse.
Yeah. I'm just so worried about how this is making all the existing inequalities worse.
Mm-hmm. Now they have a new shiny excuse to use for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like restricting abortion care and making it harder for people to get the meds they need. This is just such a mess.
Yeah. Like I was planning to do surgery mid next year, but I'm sure that's going to be pushed out with all the stuff that's getting canceled now.
Yeah.
If you took 6 months off from work or something like that to plan around that right now, I'm sure you're panicked.
Yeah.
You can't actually get into an OR.
I think that's all the pieces. I guess I'll give this a quick clean. So I guess assuming I finish this, it might be a good time to grab another kit. The other thing I kind of had ready to work on is that we could take apart that Ring camera that I have. And or try to get it working without their service.
That'd be cool.
I don't know where I left my science paper towels. Can open a fresh box of science towels. Oh yeah, Idaho. Ugh. Yeah, I'm always mad at how much power states have to just make things hard for whatever marginalized people they personally want to have a grudge against. Alright. Let's see if this works. I think I'm just going to plug it into USB and see what happens. To go. Seems alright. Let's check some voltages. Okay, 5 volts in, 5 volts out, just as expected with the chooser not connected. Then let's try LDO off first. I should really get the meter on here. It's really hard to select stuff that is not on top in OBS. Even with the other things locked, it's kind of hard to select the thing that is not on top. Oh, if I put the phone in the case such that the volume buttons are being continuously squished, then the do not disturb overlay doesn't go away. Useful. Yeah, so it seems like there's some kind of really weak pull-up, but I can drain the capacitance in the output just by connecting the meter to it. It's pretty much what you'd expect. So now the voltage choices, we've got 4.5, 3, 1.5, and adjustable. Four and a half. 3. 1.5. And the adjustable one is sitting around 5. Let's try adjusting. Oh, this is the wrong tool. Somewhere I actually have a bunch of little ceramic screwdrivers for this particular job. I'm pretty sure they're in the garage and I don't know where. I don't feel like searching for them right now. These super tiny surface mount variable resistors are not my friend. Okay, 5 volts. Okay, now it's decreasing. Oops. I think that was about half scale is 5 volts, so like the half of the scale above that is just not useful right now. Alright, seems to go pretty far down. 0.8 volts at the lowest. Yeah, and then the top half of the scale is just above 5 volts, so it's just pinned at 5 volts. Well, cool. Let's leave this set to something reasonable, like 3 volts or so. And let's try powering something. Let's use this camera. Minus and plus. It's definitely going to need some kind of shim, though. It's not thick enough. And this one I can actually just bend the two pieces of the battery holder a little closer together. That looks pretty unstable. Let's see if it works. Oh, it does. Cool. Now have a ridiculous looking USB powered pineapple. Yeah, speaking of states that don't let you change your birth certificate, I'm pretty sure Texas is still in that category. Yeah, it is kind of like cooking with soldering kits. We can combine them, make an interesting meal. Well, cool. Maybe I'll rummage around and see what we should put together next. Oh, put together or take apart. Yeah, I don't know. This thing just makes me mad. The Ring camera. Everything about that. Maybe the Ring camera has some useful parts. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it would be nice if I guess I could just use it as a general purpose Wi-Fi camera, but it's also only 720p. So like any random Android phone from the trash is probably better as a Wi-Fi camera than the Ring is. Maybe I just pick up whatever's on top. So here's a kit. Okay, I'll have to set this pineapple up somewhere where it's got a stable USB power supply. Right? Replace the camera and the ring with video input and make it do nonsense. I mean, I feel like that might be the most useful thing to do, is to just subvert the platform somehow. Because, I mean, they've got the whole thing where they can share footage semi-automatically with police departments. I think they've also got some kind of social network, and yeah, it'd be interesting if we can throw a wrench into that somehow. I mean, this camera that I'm using right now is a Wi-Fi camera. It's laggy and terrible, but the actual video quality is pretty good, and it's just like a random Android phone from eBay. I think I will actually switch to the DSLR. I like Jenny's suggestion to feed the ring camera scenes from crime TV shows. That's got to be the only thing that shows like cops are good for, is trolling police departments. Yeah, the police department post that I was getting mad at on Nextdoor was just like some, you know, the thing where police departments like to post mugshots where they're like, "Oh look, we did our job. Give us a cookie," and it's like, the only good that does is police propaganda. Like, it's a violation of privacy. It's not representative. All it does is tries to feed people a little bit of that feeling that the police are there to help them, when it doesn't actually indicate that at all. Deep fried Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I like that option too. Oh, this is cool. This is the cone head. Nice packaging. This one looks cute. A little grasshopper. Right? It's like, hey, look at this random person we arrested. Please laugh and ostracize. Thanks. Yeah, and the person I got in the most of an argument with on that thread was someone who was just like, oh, that person's ugly, haha, you know, and it's like, and I didn't even call out that person. I just said, oh, enough with the cop propaganda. And then that person, of course, has to start an argument with me because they love police officers or something. And like, even if I theoretically liked police officers, I wouldn't necessarily want their propaganda. Like, being able to tell the difference between something that is propaganda and something that isn't is a useful skill that I wish more people had. And there's a lot of gray area for sure, but like, it just seems like a lot of folks aren't even trying. Oh, the video in the bottom right is the video chat. So that's Laura, I think. If you open that vid chat link, you can join us.
Hey, it's me, Laura.
Hey.
I'm working on the capacimeter project.
Nice. Yeah, another bold port kit. I think I've got that one in this box somewhere, unopened still. Do we know if the vid chat works on iOS or mobile? Yes. I have not tested it personally on iOS, but I know it works on Android, and I'm pretty sure it works on iOS. If you go to that link on a mobile device, instead of just opening right away in your browser, it'll give you a page that links to the mobile apps. Oh, this is so cute. I have no idea what this is. Like, is it an audio thing? Is it a light thing? We will find out. It's labeled gate, mod, and carrier, which sounds like either an audio or radio kind of thing. Is this a cat toy? Does it come with a cat toy? Tuco, is this a cat toy? Oh yeah, I think Tuco knows it's a cat toy. Hey, little boy. Oh, hello, radio friend. I can put that back on the grid if we have multiple people. I took it off grid mode temporarily because it was mostly just showing me in the grid unnecessarily. I don't know if there's a good solution to avoid the Drosty effect thing where the Jitsi meeting is also showing us the stream. Tuco's only slightly interested in this. It's kind of silly. Oh, it comes with a sticker too. That's really cute. This is going on my rack.
That's a good one.
When we're done with quarantine, I'm definitely going to get a less squeaky chair. I sold most of my chairs and tables before moving, and only took a couple with me, and the ones that I brought are not great for recording. Oh, there's a speaker in here. It's definitely an audio project. And there's no instructions, so we could try to figure it out, but usually with the Boldport kits, it's worth actually looking up the instructions from the URL that they give you. I think the quickest way to get the individual kits is via the shop page. There it is. Cricket sounds. Oh man, one of my favorite childhood soldering kits actually was an electronic cricket. I wonder if I can find that one. I think it was Heathkit. Oh, I used to have that. The digital experimenter. That was also a kit. Huh. Is that it? I remembered the board being a slightly different shape, but I mean, this was so long ago that this is certainly might have been it. Wow, I think that was it. Gosh, that's a blast from the past. Yeah, I don't know where mine ended up. Well, now I have a cricket that looks like a cricket. That's pretty cool. I had this chair that I liked a lot. It had a tall back and a gas spring. I think it was an IKEA chair that was like $100 when it was new. It served me well for a bunch of years, and then I gave it to my roommate at the time, now my former roommate, because he needed a chair, and I was having trouble with it being too squeaky for streaming. It's good to have a friend who doesn't mind squeaky chairs when you're in that situation. Well, this one uses a phototransistor. I think the old Heathkit used one of those light-dependent resistors. I'm kind of surprised sometimes that you can still get those, because I remember hearing that, they were going to go out of stock everywhere because, they're full of cadmium, and people are trying to avoid manufacturing stuff with loads of cadmium. But it seems like you can still get them, so I don't know what happened to that. Ooh, this also runs on 2032 batteries. Pay attention. It's kind of a funny mix of through-hole and surface mount parts here. I think a lot of times Boldport kits use through-hole parts for aesthetic reasons, even if they also have surface mount parts. These legs are really cute. I guess he's also trying to limit how many components are through-hole, or surface mount rather. Huh. That's pretty cute. Simulation of the Cricut circuit in Pure Data and in this circuit simulator. Cool. Let's do the thing. Lady Starlight says that my IKEA chair broke because I didn't sit in it straight. I think that's homophobic. I concur. That's not okay. Of course, now that I have the DSLR pointed back at the desk, Tuco is just really cutely watching out the window. Sure, most of my tools are better at this job than the pliers, but seems to be working all right. Okay. Just looking at Thomas's question about tracking down RF noise. Can you figure out whether it's coming in through like any particular wire? Like, is it a conductive or radiated problem, I guess? All right. Pay attention to polarity, pay attention to length. All right. Yeah, this whole thing is still really not ergonomic. So some of these capacitors have normal designators like C1 and C2, and then some of them they just label directly with what they're responsible for in the oscillator, like carrier, modulator, gate. I wonder if you can get variable capacitors that are about the same size. There's a little length of stiff wire in here too. 2 lengths of stiff wire. Speaking of SDRs and running around and looking for signals, I wonder if there's, if you have an Android phone and an on-the-go adapter, if there's anything that would work. It seems like this one wants to stay well away from that battery holder. Something like that. I've definitely been disturbed by how much traffic there still is around here during the stay-at-home order. Like, I don't think it's all delivery trucks. I think a lot of people are just outside doing whatever.
Here in LA, it's almost just like a normal weekend day in a lot of places.
Yikes. Yeah, that's pretty concerning. Carrier is 103. Oh, hey, Tuco. I feel so bad when Tuco comes over and I want to pet him, but I'm covered in flux and I really don't want to get that on my cat. Hey, Tuco. Are you enjoying that box? Oh, is that the camera overheating again? switch back to this camera. Tuco. Alright, C gate is the big 47 mic electrolytic. He is a very explore cat. Another weird kind of surface mount diode over here. It's a little too long still. There is actually a legit surface mount package that's just like a cylindrical diode with metal end caps on it. But this is a different way of achieving roughly the same result, I guess. Okay. Switch and I guess that's an inverter. Is that a circle with a 1 in it for pin 1? That's great. It's totally non-standard, but I guess that works. And this, it's a little hard to read with the shiny flux there, but that's the switch to the right of the inverter chip. Oh, there's already a decent amount of flux on this board. Touching the top of that switch with the fluxy tweezers was not my favorite thing. Oh, hey, Tuco. Oh, hello. If anybody's curious what this is, I'm just kind of soldering together some random bold port kits this morning. And this is an electronic cricket made out of a hex inverter and some resistors and capacitors. Should switch to the smaller soldering iron tip for the surface mount stuff. There it is. Misplaced the actual chip momentarily. Oh yeah, thanks for the kit link. Phototransistor and the resistors next. When do they have you solder on the battery holder? It seems like that would be next. Ah, battery holder and the speakers are next. Very shiny. I was looking for a polarity marking, but I think they just... I mean, like, there's no electrical polarity, but there's, like, a mechanical polarity. You can only put the battery in one direction. It looks like they want the battery to go in the bottom. That. Yeah. Hello.
Hey, you're still here after I finished work. That's great.
Welcome.
Hey, Alexis.
That should be fine. And the speaker. Oh. This is weird. They just have you glue the speaker flat against the circuit board. That's so weird. I'm going to clean the flux off this section of the board first if we're doing that. Some of those flux are not flux spatters, but they're holes in the copper layer. Or in the solder mask layer, rather. It's cute.
See, that'd be all the more motivation for me to just leave the flux alone.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it already looks messy. I haven't made it any worse.
Yeah. I just really hate the way it feels when you accidentally put your fingers in some flux.
Yeah, but in like a couple days, it dries rock hard.
I guess that's true.
But I'm like the anti-perfectionist, so.
Are we cutting these wires? Oh, we are. Just like noticing things in these instructions. There's also apparently R5 is a 0 ohm jumper, which they just want you to use a piece of resistor leg or something for. The diagram also shows the speaker wires crossed, which seems like it doesn't at all matter, but it'd be fun to make it look just like the diagram, I guess. Are we really trimming these? That speaker glue is also really squishy. I feel like if I try stripping these, it's just going to break them right off the speaker. I think I'm going to avoid that. Ooh, that looks bad. Also, this is definitely the kind of insulation that's going to shrink back on its own, so I don't think I have to worry about stripping it on second thought. Maybe I should be using my sharper cutters. Wow.
I've probably inhaled way too much plastic fumes from letting the heat strip the wire for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
But it's
same.
so convenient.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen anyway, so you might as well like account for it.
I'm using silicone wire in the little oscilloscope I'm building up, and I'm so not used to how it doesn't react at all to the heat.
I really like silicone wire, though. It's
It's
great.
great. It's great. And I got some that's like actually really cheap, but it actually is pretty high quality too. I'm
Nice.
really happy with that.
I was especially thrilled when I learned that you can just strip it with your fingernails sometimes.
I have a habit of breaking my fingernails doing that.
Oh,
I try to avoid it, but the temptation is just too strong.
yeah. Okay, those are both probably stripped enough. Professional society happenings on the Zoom. It's funny. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I have such feelings about platforms, and it's weird when people let a single platform kind of take over an entire category, but I ranted about that a bunch on the last stream already.
And it was wild to see how, like, a week after everyone started working from home, there were a bunch of think pieces that were like, oh crap, Zoom is stealing all your data. I was like, yeah, you should have checked that.
Yeah, this is not a new development, but I'm glad folks care all of a sudden, I guess. I mean, it's just disheartening seeing how people react to that, though. Like, it seems like most folks just don't even want to engage with the possibility that something is, like, in part nefarious if they have to use it anyway. They'd rather just, like, try to imagine that it's not bad. It's, like, hard to make space in your head for something being, like, in some contexts necessary, but it also being problematic.
I tried to drum up enough caring about that at work to, maybe look at using something else, but I kind of failed at that. So I've just like canned it in my work laptop.
Yeah, it's like hard to, I mean,
It's
social
like if
pressure.
you're gonna risk your data, that's fine. I'll leave it on your laptop, and that's your choice, and it's not going
Totally.
on mine.
Yeah. I mean, for something like this, like if I was going to use Zoom to do like call-in stuff on this show, I feel like I'd probably want to tell people to run it on like a VM or something.
Yeah, I appreciate that we're using, something else. But work has used it for a long time. It's been our video conferencing tool of choice for a while. So
Yeah.
the boss really likes it. And I have
Oh.
to admit, if you ignore the problems, it's slick and works really well. So I can see why. But you know,
But you have to install something, right? It doesn't just let you join a meeting from any old web browser.
I don't know. I did install it, but I don't know if that was just because it was more convenient or what.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it in a while, but that's what I was hearing.
But it is the video conferencing tool that gives clients the least amount of trouble when they call in.
Hmm.
There's very little hand holding, which is, it is a strong benefit, I will admit.
Yeah. Oh, I was also trying matrix.org, which also has the popular riot.im client. And it has, like, I mean, it's mostly like a Slack kind of competitor. It has text channels, but you can also set up video calls. But I think its video call system is basically just like Jitsi, the thing that we're using right now, in a box. I don't know how well it integrates into the like user and moderation features that Matrix has.
Interesting. I've been hearing a lot about that lately, but I have yet to actually interact with it myself.
Yeah, I started trying to set it up for this, but I didn't see a way to create like a. I didn't see a good way for people to join without a lot of setup. Like it's nice on here where there's just a link, but it seemed like on Matrix I would need to have more of a process for people to get in. Oh, Tuco's still looking out. Okay, finally actually done with that page of the instructions. Page 2. Phototransistor, resistors, more resistors, some wire. That's better than the LED symbol, the thing where they actually indicate which one's the short leg and which one's the long leg. Gotta appreciate the inside of these phototransistors too. They don't look anything like LEDs.
I'm going to admit I wouldn't have gotten what that symbol was indicating if you didn't say so.
Oh, I mean, it helps that I've got the instructions right here, I guess.
Oh yeah, that probably does help. It's kind of cute that they do that, though. I love these boards. I could watch people put them together all day long. I could probably put them together all day long.
Oh, maybe I need a 24/7 channel for that. I guess this one wants to actually use the through holes. Solder this on both sides just for aesthetics and completeness. This pair has seen better days. I really need to sort all my side cutters so that I have good ones and less good ones. Some kind of organization. I was just realizing I forgot to put together the little box for the previous kit. Maybe I'll do that later because the camera is set up for this so nicely right now. Yeah, I like that. Good side cutters, bring with you side cutters, removing stubborn nails side cutters. Yeah, all the different categories here. Are all the resistors the same? Yes. We just have loads of 4.7 or wait. On the schematic they say 4.7. On the instructions they say 47K. I think these are 4.7. Let's ask the meter. Yeah. That's cool. Oh, that's a good idea. Writing the date on side cutters. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I just have a bunch that I used to use for in-person art workshops. So like some of them are just me, some of them like students have used, and I've abused them to various degrees, so I need to figure out where the good pairs are still hiding. Okay, so these we want to trim one side of the resistors and leave the other one long. About that much. And I'm doing this identically to 8 resistors, cutting the legs off of them. Never try to cut springs. Gosh, yes. I had to bend a spring once, and I did learn that you have to heat them up first before they will bend.
I'm pretty sure my side cutters have a mark recording the exact moment I learned that lesson about springs. Like, I can picture it in my head right where that mark is.
Yeah. I mean, you get it just the right indentation on your side cutters, and now you've got a spare pair of wire strippers. Okay, 8 of them are cut, and 4 of them are still long, just like the diagram. Is Tuco still sitting just out of frame? Tuco. I guess I have a cat camera, sort of, with this Wi-Fi thing. But when I find the camera I used to use for the Tuco tripod, I'll just stick that on a spare SDI input, and I'll have that. Lady Starlight uses her old side cutters as can openers. It's right up there with using drywall screws as corkscrews. Are these little smiles?
Tuco has got to be fantasizing about biting those wires he's looking at.
Probably.
I can just imagine him dreaming happy thoughts about wires.
Yeah, gosh, that little section of yellow extension cord next to him is, like, it seems like I should have needed to protect that, but I haven't seen him get interested in it so far. I still don't know what it is, because, like, there are some, sometimes there'll be, like, a single section of wire that he's more into than a different section of the exact same cable. And, like, I think some of it is just, like, well, when it catches his interest just right, then he'll start chewing on it, and then once he's left some bite marks, it's even more interesting, and it kind of becomes a feedback loop. I guess I have to grab this, like, right by that for it to stay still while I'm soldering.
I have definitely absent-mindedly destroyed small objects that my hands decided they wanted to play with, so I kind of get it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, Tuco's wire biting urge just reminds me of how I used to chew on mechanical pencil erasers compulsively. Just trying to get these kind of lined up and kind of soldered smoothly, and it's all a little bit of a compromise. just saw some resistors fly off the table. I'm really not sure how I managed that. I think that's all of them.
Cats like knocking things off tables. Maybe Tuco can do it telepathically.
Right? Yeah, I think he's just concentrating on the squirrels out there, but really he's focusing as hard as he can on all the table surfaces. Kind of seems like I do have to change grips. Like, part of the problem I'm running into here is just, like, how do I grab these securely with the tweezers? And if I grab them near the solder joint, then I get the kind of, like, angular precision that I need to get them straight. But, like, it seems like I can only really get the right angle if I switch right here, and then grab that, and then take the soldering iron off. Okay, and then the ends of these get soldered together.
Nobody should ever listen to me, but I very much just hold the opposite end with my bare fingers when I need that kind of alignment.
Oh yeah, no, I do that a lot too, but I'm trying not to because it almost always leads to me burning my fingers. But yeah,
I find they stay cool if I work very quickly. The key has been being reckless enough to do it enough to learn exactly how quickly I need to work
yeah.
and at what point I need to preemptively drop the thing.
I'm pretty sure my electronics habits have changed a lot, like trying to do things on video versus just doing things for myself too.
Oh yeah. You're way too responsible to be that bad of an example on camera.
Well, it's not just that, it's just that, I mean, it's hard to do that while I'm also trying to fuss with the camera.
That's fair.
Cute.
I didn't notice what this thing was that you were building. That's a really odd little construction with the resistors.
Yeah.
What's that for?
Those are the legs of the cricket.
Oh, so it's mechanical. Okay.
Well, it's a sculpture and it's also electrical.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, this is very typical bold port.
Yeah, it is. I just haven't seen this one.
Yeah, it's a set of 3 oscillators and a light sensor, and it makes cricket noises when it's dark.
Oh, nice.
Oh man, my editing workstation is almost done processing the isopod backlog. It finished another file overnight, so it's working on the last file, I think. Which doesn't mean a ton since the files are all different size, but it's like the best milestone I have available. Oh, flux. The solder is just so gooey and terrible without flux. Yeah, it really took me way too long to get used to having flux handy when I'm soldering. I was never really brought up with that. Like when I learned how to solder, nobody told me that you can just like have extra flux and put on flux. So I would do things like add extra solder that I didn't need just to have the extra flux and then wick away the solder.
Yeah, I still remember the moment as a novice when I learned that flux was a thing. And it was like my eyes were finally opened,
Yeah,
and the whole world just suddenly was better.
it really is a big improvement.
I still really only use it for surface mount stuff, but maybe I need to add that to my workbench.
I definitely use it a lot less for through-hole stuff, but the moments when I do use it, I extremely want it.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me feels like a bigger part of learning surface mount is like learning about how solder and flux works at a more detailed level rather than just dealing with the small size.
Yeah, it's a lot more about like the wicking and fluid dynamics and stuff.
Totally.
The eye-opening moment for me with surface mount was realizing that I'm actually bad at it and should just avoid it. But I used to stubbornly just not allow myself to be bad at anything, and so I did all the surface mount, and I just never got very good at
Huh.
it. And I get all the flux stuff and all the fluid blah blah blah. I just suck at it.
That's okay.
So accepting that I could just stop was really nice.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I like experiences like that kind of set some parameters for, what is working and what isn't. It kind of narrows down the field of possibilities to something tractable sometimes.
My hand-eye coordination is just not among the best in the world.
I wonder if there are any video games that improve soldering skills. Because I'm trying to like learn how to play an actual instrument sort of, and I've done that in the past to a limited degree, but I've never really had success at it. I did for a long time play Guitar Hero, and it's funny just like feeling like, oh, I know how to play the song on Guitar Hero. Actually, I kind of know how to play the song on other instruments too. Like, is there a Switch game for soldering yet? I've been hearing everybody excited about that Animal Crossing, but I don't have a Switch, so I haven't actually been able to check it out.
Yeah, I'd totally play with one if there were one around, but I'm just not into video games enough to justify paying for one. So
Yeah,
I have yet to buy one despite their immense popularity.
that's pretty much the position I'm into. I have
I've
so much
come
trouble
close.
concentrating on video games.
I'm just extremely not a video game person, and there will be like a moment where I am, and that moment is never long enough to justify spending money.
Yeah. Yeah, really, I mean, I should just play some of the Steam games I already have on the computer that I mostly use for editing. Okay, that's a little, like, this does not fit on my current view. Is the DSLR cool enough to use now? yeah, there's our critter so far. 4 soldered resistors. Looks like there are 4 resistors left that make up the... oh, the back legs, right. Those other 2 bits of circuit board we have. There's also these 2 bits of stiff wire that it came with. Okay, the stiff wires are for the antennae and for connecting the legs to the bodies. Cool. DSLR is not cool enough. Yeah. I mean, I really like the pixels that this DSLR makes. I keep calling it a DSLR also, even though it's a mirrorless camera. I'm just really used to that. The traditional Servo AF was a Canon DSLR, and now this is a Sony mirrorless. I wonder if there's some format that I can set for these, for all this like Boldport kit footage that I have that would let me release videos that don't take a million years to create. As it seems like the 2 things that I do with these kits are either I make a completely overkill complicated video or I just don't make anything, and I need to find something better than either of those.
At this point, it could almost be cool to do just like one big Boldport retrospective video with maybe like an interview with SAR or something.
Oh, that could be cool. Ooh, am I still missing 1 resistor? There it is. I must be knocking these off with my microphone cable or something. Cool, I guess I'm not the only one that calls their mirrorless camera a DSLR. Yeah, when I bought that DSLR, mirrorless cameras were definitely a thing still. Like, they're not that new. Why did I get one with a mirror? I think at the time I still thought that it would be useful, but yeah, I didn't end up using the optical viewfinder much. Let's try the holding it with the fingers method instead of fussing with the tweezers this time. As a bonus, this includes a temperature sensor. Yeah, it is nice to just get a solid grip on the whole resistor and then give it just a little bit of a twist to kind of pressure it against the board and get it to stick nicely. Okay, these have the same kind of attachment technique at the end. I feel like one of the reckless things that I'll do on stream pretty frequently is I'll just be holding the soldering iron in my hand while I'm doing other things, which is usually fine, but then sometimes I'll notice that I've burnt something without realizing it.
Yeah, I've definitely burned things doing that, and I just can't break the habit. It's one of my few bad habits that I actually genuinely want to stop doing. But it's just such a strong temptation.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, especially with the beep that this makes, it's like, oh, every time it beeps, I'm losing points or something. Like I have to keep the soldering iron in my hand.
I've come unsettlingly close to my own face doing that.
On the last stream, I put away the desoldering gun while it was still hot. I mean, I did not immediately, but I just didn't give it enough time to cool and like melted some plastic, and that was fun. Suddenly you feel the infrared near your skin. Yeah. Yes, that is how you know you're about to feel significantly worse. Although, I mean, I've burned myself with soldering iron plenty of times, and I've like dripped molten solder on myself a few times. But I think the worst burn I gave myself doing electronics was from a transistor. There's some kind of oscillator or something I was building as a kid, and I didn't know about like the power ratings or anything, and I was just overheating some poor old TO92 transistor. And so I stick my finger on it to see if it's hot, and then I get this great TO92 like semicircular burn on my finger.
Oh god, yeah, I did that so much as a kid. I had no concept of power dissipation and like
Well, if it's heating up, that's how you know it's working, right?
I definitely didn't know about inductance, and I think I was trying to drive a transformer. I think I was trying to make like a little boost converter or something, and made so many mistakes.
yeah, inductance was pretty mysterious to me as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, I put the eye on wrong. I was assuming that it was folded over because of the way the diagram was, but the other pictures show it just pointing straight out, and it actually looks just like a pupil. Maybe I'll fix that. think I just want to cut that off and then use braid. I've got to remember that the kind of anvil-shaped piece goes up on this because I'm about to lose my leg polarity.
I'll admit, I've been doing this for years now, and I still can never remember which leg is conventionally what.
Yeah, same. I used to have a habit of just, for LEDs, looking at the inside rather than the legs, and because on almost all
It used to
LEDs...
work reliably, and then it started, like, fairly recently becoming really commonly not working.
Yeah. Yeah, I've found that too. Like, it used to be much more... I mean, it used to be you'd find some that were unconventional, but nowadays it's a little less of a...
I made that mistake on, like, the second to last board I built, which had 16 through-hole LEDs on it, and
Oh
I got them
no.
all installed, and I turned it on and they wouldn't light up,
Oh no.
and I finally realized what I did.
At that point, you just reverse the power supply.
I actually did, yes. Just on the LEDs, but, like, yeah, I cut the power trace and remapped it to ground.
Oops. Oh, my work holding keeps needing improvement. Now the microscope is way too close. Doesn't look clear. Oh, it is. Barely. Yeah, that looks more like an eye when it's in focus. That is cuter. Okay. Now the antenna, which I think is just for show. I'll trim those so that the length is consistent. Cute. Alright, and then attaching the legs. All these orientations are kind of weird, but the instructions are useful for this. Just cutting this other thing in half. And it goes on to the body and then both legs. Oh, ouch. Catching the hot side of the soldering iron. That sounds terrible. I hope you didn't catch it for too long. The drop reflex kicks in before it melts in place.
I haven't dropped the soldering iron very many times, but the last time I did, I was delighted to find that my instinct was actually to jump the fuck back.
Nice. Yeah, that's how I am. I've definitely dropped kitchen knives a couple of times, and I'm glad that that's been my instinct there too.
That's probably where that instinct came from, honestly. I do that fairly consciously in the kitchen.
Because I cook barefoot way too much, and it would be really easy to just like lose a toe or something.
I picked that instinct up after a few years of like working in machine shops and stuff, but it's a little bit embarrassing when like, you drop like a package of cereal or something soft and, totally pick upable and you're just like, nope, I'm not trying to grab that. It's hitting the floor.
Yeah, that's cool. I definitely do that too. It's just, it takes too long to identify what kind of object it is. Like, what is the actual hazard? Nope, jump first, calculate that later.
Absolutely.
Oh, these legs are really cute.
That whole board is adorable.
Mm-hmm. I really need the Tuco cam on this layout too. I'm just deciding the Wi-Fi camera is currently the Tuco cam.
I love how intent he is on just being a cat.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty intensely a cat.
Yes. I wonder if I can put the camera a little closer without disturbing him. Oh no. Hey! Hey Tuco, I'd pet you, but my hands are covered in flux. Always disturbs him when I get up to move the camera. This is the whole reason I had the Tuco flyer.
Jitsi has really low latency, and it's kind of startling to me after getting used to the stream setup to press enter in chat and then have it immediately appear on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty great. Kind of want to read.
I was really appreciating when I was having internet problems before just how low it was willing to take the video quality to get something to come through.
Yeah.
Finally found out that my second access point wasn't getting a connection because my Ethernet switch just randomly died.
No.
It just turned into a break with no warning and no apparent reason for doing so.
Wow. I wonder if it overheated or something.
It was it had at least one problem. It had a failed capacitor in one of the power supplies.
Oh.
I replaced that, but it didn't come back up. So I don't know if the power supply shenanigans killed the chip or if there were two problems with it. But
Gosh.
it was just like completely dead,
Was it a managed or unmanaged switch?
unmanaged. It's a cheap, like Netgear, I think, or something like that.
Weird.
The power supply, when I checked it out, it wasn't doing anything like interesting. Like it hadn't lost regulation or anything. It was just really ripply.
Oh.
So I kind of think that it may have just had two unrelated problems.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think this is done. I might need some like bending into shape, but separate the legs a little bit. Cute. Alright, I'm gonna see if this works, and then I'll try to get some better camera angles after I wash the flux off my fingers. There's the battery.
I keep talking to my dog, and then Jitsi passive aggressively reminds me about the unmute button. I figured at some point it would learn and stop popping up that message, but it hasn't.
It's making a noise, but I can't tell if it's responding to light.
It's responding to something.
I can definitely change the pitch by touching the legs.
Oh, that's a fun effect. I'm gonna circuit bend a cricket.
Right? It's like, at this point, I need to figure out how it's supposed to work and see if this matches. This doesn't sound anything like the Cricut kit that I remember from Heathkit, but this kind of makes sense given the simulation we were looking at earlier.
It sounds pretty crickety.
And does it not really come through on the stream?
It's pretty loud to me.
I can hear it.
And it doesn't sound very loud in person, but it's definitely noticeable.
It's quiet compared to your voice. Maybe I'm just in a quiet room and have pretty quiet headphones, like well isolated. But it's clear to me.
Well, I like how it's kind of atmospheric, like it doesn't take over the room.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll just get a flashlight. Oh yeah, sorry I wasn't paying attention to the Twitch chat. I did connect. I've just been not paying as much attention as I should. Oh yeah, that's a good question. From YouTube chat, Mr. Radar was asking if Tuco has seemed less needy in this new space, and yeah, for sure. I think Tuco and I have a much better rhythm that we've gotten into with how to use the space together here. Oh, my hands are so dirty. Oh, I guess I can't turn the flashlight on when my phone is locked. Huh. It does seem to get faster when I shine light on it. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to work. The Cricut kit that I remember had, I don't know, like the way that I kind of expect an electronic Cricut to work at this point is that it's relatively quiet when it's light, and then when it gets dark, it starts tripping. And this seems to be kind of having the opposite effect. Yeah, I can't tell if this is working properly. It's sort of working, but I don't know if this is actually what it's meant to do. Might be useful to poke around the oscillator with an O-scope and see if they all seem to be doing the right thing.
It definitely looks right from the schematic.
Hmm.
The phototransistor is in series with the resistors on the gate circuit, so it's going to just speed it up. Interesting. It's not how I would have wired up a cricket, but maybe Isar doesn't have many crickets where he lives.
Okay, so how are we using this phototransistor? I guess if it's... So the thing that's confusing me first off is that I'm used to phototransistors either being used as current sources or as switches. I'm not really sure what mode they're going for here.
It's a switch. It's a soft switch. It's just adding in those resistors in parallel with the feedback path and dropping the total feedback resistance.
Which would make that oscillator speed up. And then it would deliver pulses to this more frequently, which seems to be what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's definitely get this on the scope, though. I'm just going to I'm going to take a flux hand washing break, and then we'll try scoping this out. Oh, is this not a cricket? Is this actually a different insect called a conehead? I did not notice that. Anyway, I'll be right back. Tuco. Gosh, we need to go check Wikipedia to see what these cone heads are, because I certainly haven't heard of them.
There's a link in the chat that has sound clips, and this sounds remarkably accurate. I'm really impressed with how close these 3 Schmidt triggers are.
Huh. Oh, these are so weird. Ah, okay. Do we have audio? Huh. That's pretty great. Oh yeah, sorry, this audio is not going to get routed through Jitsi. I need to fix the audio routing at some point. Cool. Well, that's pretty great. I'm glad we have a bug expert around to help us out with that. This is great. Slightly musical Conehead. I just want to make sure we have the Tuco camera available. Where is the O-scope? Oh. That's better. Helps when the scalar's on the right input. Okay, let's check the outputs of the 3 ring oscillators here. Where is ground? Oh, that wire link. I was just looking at what that actually is in the schematic. That's an optional resistor that you can use to decrease the volume of the speaker. It's also a really handy ground right now. So let's just poke the speaker first. Oh man, my soldering desk is less ergonomic than before, but my oscilloscope situation is slightly better. That's pretty nice. So we just have these really short impulses actually, which is probably partly why this is so quiet. But I imagine that also gives it good battery life. Oh, that's because the speaker is capacitively coupled through only 100 nanofarads. That is C2. So yeah, on the other end of the capacitor, we have this square wave. So that would be the output of the third oscillator, which is basically just the speaker, but without the AC coupling. So then its inputs, it has kind of a what looks like a free running oscillator that gives it this high frequency, and then it has the kind of longer period oscillator with the phototransistor in the feedback path. So let's look at the high frequency oscillator. That would be pin 10 on the IC. Yeah, so this one, I think this is what's actually making the high frequency component of this, but then through diode D1, it gets pulled up periodically by the other oscillator to stop the chirping. long period oscillator. Yeah. So this should basically just be a light to frequency converter. Let's get the flashlight. Yeah, if I shine some light on this, the on period gets slower. This is a neat little circuit. I'm going to try to clean a little bit of the flux off of it. What the world needs is an automaton head. Oh gosh, that could be cool. I like the automaton probably more than I should.
No, it deserves every bit of admiration. It's awesome.
Cool, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I just want to get good enough at it that I can actually like play proper covers that aren't just completely done in the editing room like a lot of them on YouTube. I mean, as fun as it is to assemble music in the editing room, it's not as satisfying in real time. Oh, I had these like wooden swabs that were really good for this. Somewhere they still exist. I think I've also got these brushes that are really good for cleaning off flux, which I will find at some point during my continued unpacking.
I totally use a toothbrush and have good results with that.
Oh, that's a good idea. I might have an extra toothbrush around here somewhere.
All right, my dinner's almost here, so I'm dropping out.
Okay, thanks for showing up. Nice to chat. Well, it seems like we're pretty much done with this kit. I might try to do some photography, since I haven't really been paying attention to getting good video of this so far. But let's see, do we have another kit in us today? I could also take a food break and then try to come back for something totally different and use that Ring camera for something other than sending pictures of my neighbors to the police.
Mike, I think I need to head out too. But thank you so much for the kits and being visible and all the good stuff.
Cool. Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.
Oh, if I really want to just scare everyone away at the end of the stream, I could play automaton. Just practice that squeaky thing. This is great. I am kind of reading chat, just not with the latency that I think a lot of folks expect. Yeah, I've got this cardboard thing from the previous kit too. Is that close enough to green? This needs like a little lazy Susan so I can get a rotating video of it or something. One thing I've used for that in the past is a disco ball motor. It's kind of a strange object, but they rotate pretty slowly and smoothly. Gosh, these Boldport kits are kind of like Happy Meal toys for adult engineers. It's just like how do you package a bunch of like weird fun into a small container? Alright, camera. Hey, everyone needs a break now, including my camera. This is just a piece from the previous kit that I hadn't actually remembered to finish. It came with a little paper craft enclosure. Anyway, if you have any crimes to do, make sure that you do them before the end of Trans Day of Visibility, while you're still in. No. Sorry, it's the other way around. If you're invisible, you can evade detection. Yeah, I don't know. That's always been the weird part about the trans day visibility to me. Like it's a cool concept, and I like the idea of, you know, people seeing folks out in the world that look like them or look like what they're trying to be. But I'm also just not really sure what to do. It's like, yep, we exist. We have existed all along, and guess there's a day for this for some reason. Yeah, it certainly sucked, like, growing up and not knowing that trans people exist, really. Like, the only gender variant people that I'd seen for most of my life was, you know, like on trashy TV talk shows and stuff, like being treated extremely badly. And it's hard to... I mean, it feels like that part of the culture is... like, it's designed to keep people out. It's designed to scare people into pretending to be cis as long as they can. Can we bring the camera back? No, we have cat camera. That's probably the best I can do right now. What would an automaton head be? Would that be an automaton that sounds like a cone head? Is this the next mashup project? Hey, Tuco. Do you want to hang out, Tuco? Yeah, I feel like Tuco and I were having some pretty serious problems at the old place right before leaving. Like, it was just really hard to get work done. It was really hard to take a break from, like, him when he was just being too much. And now with the whole multiple rooms, that's just been way better. Like, I don't think this place is bigger than the old place. I'm pretty sure the old place had more square feet, but... And certainly the studio here is pretty cramped compared to what I had previously. But I think just the additional flexibility in having multiple rooms is a huge game changer. Cute. Oh, hey, Tuco. This has instructions to glue. I don't know if I have any proper glue handy. I have some glue sticks with my 3D printing stuff. I have hot glue here. Whoa! Tuco! Tuco, don't! No! Tuco! Stay out of that. I guess hot glue is it right now. Yeah, I don't have a great place for Tuco to come over here and hang out in the studio on account of the crowdedness right now. Is this camera working? I was trying to show this camera on the last stream, but it was having technical problems. Oh, there it is. Yeah, a little laggy, and the angle is terrible because it's mounted extremely temporarily, but this is basically the studio space I've got right now. It's just like a small bedroom with an outdoors door over there, green screen right behind me, editing desk over there. Yeah, it's pretty basic, but I like it. And it's a pretty basic space, which I then filled with all of this equipment. I guess it's hard to tell with the door open, but I can get it pretty quiet too, on account of the computers no longer being in the same room as the microphones. Yeah, that sound, if you're just joining us, that is the cone head making noise. The pitch and the interval changes with light or dark. I just want a little bit of hot glue now. Hot glue gun is still cold. Have to diligently put away all the O-scope probes. This Tuco will destroy them, and these are the fancy expensive ones. I'm just so impatient with this hot glue gun. This one's fairly high wattage, so I'm used to it warming up quickly, but then I also am used to forgetting to turn it on. had this camera off for a minute because it was overheating. There we go. Yay, hot glue time. Cool. It's a cute little box. It's really satisfying using a sharp X-Acto knife on paper. I'm used to using these things for circuit board surgery, and even a really sharp one doesn't cut that nicely. Cute. So this will be a place to keep the extra fake batteries, I guess. I don't know about this cardboard container. Seems like that. I don't know. Something like that. Probably put this in a plastic bin. That kind of works. Oh, hey Tuco. You having some standing on the keyboard time? Cat. Cool. Well, I think that's the stopping point for today's stream. We finished the other kit from yesterday and did another one. So I think I'm going to take a break to feed myself and clean the studio. But I might be able to get another stream started soon on that Ring camera. I'll keep folks posted. Anyway, as usual, thanks for hanging out. And I appreciate knowing like what works for you and what doesn't. And if you want to send feedback my way, you can always ping me on Twitter or Twitch, or I think those are the main platforms. You can also email me, although email is just inherently more stressful. But yeah, I'll be back here pretty soon and try to figure out what the bigger picture actually looks like. But at the moment, the small picture is at least I've got some kits and ongoing projects we can do some stuff with. All right. See you all next time. Happy hacking, folks.